With all the new updates, features, and popularity of ERLC, I have no doubt more and more new players are finding the game, and unfortunately, some of my earlier videos on tips and tricks, best ways to rob, and best cars no longer apply. Today, I'm giving you my condensed list of the top 5 things you must do as a new player in ERLC if you want to be successful. Starting with number 1, the most important thing, as a new player you will only be given $50,000 to start. This is where you must not cheap out on the first car. Yes, there's several options, but the one you really want is either the Chevron Rever, which is basically a Humvee, or the Overland Buckaroo, which is basically a Jeep Wrangler. Both of these cars have adequate enough handling, they get up and go pretty fast, and they handle a little bit better than most cars. Not to mention that both of these vehicles either top or border 130 miles per hour. Speed and handling aside, if you want to outmaneuver the average cop that drives a sedan, both of these cars will be able to handle almost any off-roading situation. The average cop will have a very hard time keeping up with you. Before we move on, you might be thinking, Zany, won't I need more money for anything else? And the answer is simple, no, not really. Believe it or not, ERLC is one of those games where currency is not really used for anything other than to buy cars and tools you'll need to commit robberies. But the remaining amount of money you have after you buy your first car should be enough to cover the initial expenses. What I'm saying is this, don't worry too much about spending most of your money on a good car initially, because it's not like you can buy game exclusive merch, power-ups, or any in-game unlockables. That's just not a thing in ERLC. You're really just working to accrue money and buy cars. Speaking of accruing money, number 2, the best way to make money by far and away in emergency response to Liberty County is robberies. If you want my help on this one, get good at robbing the jewelry store. Forget about the home robbery, because not only is it kind of difficult for a beginner, but you're also not guaranteed to make money. That's right, in case you don't know, when you rob a house, you will either be given stacks of money or find a safe inside. And if you find a safe, you will have to play another mini game that isn't easy at all, even for yours truly. The ATM is a strong contender as your second focus for robberies, but do yourself a favor and start with the easy levels. Consistency should be what you're after here. The jewelry store robbery allows you to get comfortable with timing robberies, keeping an eye on your surroundings, and it's also super easy to adopt a rhythm while you're clicking away, and for most people, this will always be a good go-to robbery. A pro tip here, if you're invited to be part of a Mafia randomly, always accept. Mafias are usually out committing robberies anyway and gathering up that money, so you'll get a small cut of whatever everyone else makes. The caveat here is that you will also be sharing your profits of any robberies with other players, so keep that in mind. If you find a good crew though, this is a really easy way to make some fast cash. The second pro tip here, if you're part of a Mafia, come up with a plan to rob the bank. Nothing in this game, and listen to this carefully, nothing in this game will pay out more than robbing the bank in its entirety. It's really hard to find a good crew and a server not riddled with cops, but if you find both, the bank should really be your objective. Just make sure you're not the one that volunteers to pick the lock. Number 3 is a pretty obvious one, but often overlooked. If you're new to ERLC, take some time to drive around and familiarize yourself with the map. Long gone are the days of one city center and farmlands. We now have cabins, downtown, and several dirt roads that offer plenty of places to find refuge. What you should be looking for as you're driving around are places you're comfortable with and places you know your preferred car will not have a problem accessing. You shouldn't underestimate this, because this ties into the robberies. Every single robbery comes with a cooldown timer, and the safest way to consistently get away is to simply go and hide. Don't drive around, don't go taunting the cops, just go hide. I have several pro tips for you here, and the first one is to have more than one place to hide. The cops are quick to call for air support, and if they do, you should be ready to make your move to your alternate hiding position. Another pro tip is all the high terrain and dirt roads. As I said earlier in the video, the average cop will be driving around in a sedan of sorts. Their vehicles will have a very hard time not getting stuck and going off-road. Use this to your advantage. It's also very unlikely of cops to patrol the borders of the map. Most cops seem to focus their attention in the city center where most of the action takes place. And the final pro tip is to not forget about laying down. Just recently, I made a video where I got away from a cop simply by laying down in the tall fields. This actually works. Find some tall grass or a tree and just lay down. Sometimes the best hiding spot is in plain sight. The number 4 thing that every new player to ERLC must do is to spend some time in the gun range. This is part of fine-tuning your skills as a player. Don't worry, you don't need much money either. I'm a big fan of the Colt M1911 and it only costs $1,200. It's powerful, it's accurate, and inexpensive. Learn to control the recoil, which really isn't as bad as it used to be thanks to a recent update. So learn to place well-aimed shots on target and you should be able to create some distance between you and anyone trying to come after you. Remember, take time to use the indoor range, which actually tells you where your rounds are impacting, or even practice on innocent players like random cops and criminals. Even if you have to go to jail a few times, trust me you guys, it is worth it. Once you're at a point where you are consistently good at robberies and can protect yourself by skillfully employing your weapon, you will almost always get away with the crime you are committing. The only pro tip I have here is to not worry if you can't or don't want to buy a gun right off the bat. You honestly don't need it as long as you have a good getaway plan and know where you're going to hide. And the number 5 thing every new player in ERLC must do in 2022 is to basically find your place in the game that makes you happy. What I mean by this is that public servers are not for everyone, just like private servers are not for everyone. However, if you stick around long enough, I promise you, this game will suck you in. Some examples are roleplaying. I'm telling you right now, don't even try to roleplay in a public server. You're going to lose your mind, you might even get upset because no one follows any of the rules in public servers. So if roleplaying is your thing, go find the right private server. Although I personally have a love and hate relationship for private servers, I will admit there's some good ones out there that have really strict rules and even require their members to be part of sub-communities like Discord. And if all you want to do is be a cop and collect XP, you can definitely do that. Just the other day, I made a video where all I did was drive around, responded to callouts, and collected XP. I don't even think I had to get out of my car. And if you want to be a firefighter or EMT, then do so. The callouts are mostly automatic now and there's more than enough to keep you busy. What I'm trying to say is that this isn't a game you should only play once, or if you haven't played this game in a long time because you couldn't get the hang of it, I strongly encourage you to go back. If you think you figured everything out, I promise you, you haven't. I have been covering this game on the channel for the better part of 2 years now, and even I'm still discovering new things from time to time. Aside from that, it's a great community to be a part of, and although I'm not as involved as I would like to be, the developers really listen to the players, the events that they put on are worthwhile, and the game is constantly being updated and improved. So before you leave, find your place and play more than once. If you want to know my go-to, well, just watch my videos. I have the time of my life, pissing off mods, sniping, committing crimes. That is how I pass my time in ERLC, and it's super fun for me. In fact, many of you guys have probably seen me in servers where I'm really just driving around having fun because I do it even when I'm not filming. That's gonna do it, boys and girls. This is a quick one for you on this Thanksgiving Day. Hope you all have a wonderful time wherever you're at in the world, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and until next time, long live the Zanies.